Are you ready to change your life, but don't know how to start? Is your stress and worries keeping you awake at night? Have you been battling grief, anxiety, or depression all alone? Have you lost touch with your own sense of being or spirituality? Soul Free Therapies offers professional and affordable live video streaming counseling and coaching services from the comfort of your own home. Sessions offered in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. Go to our website at www.soul-free.com and book your first session today.
The Opperman Report is brought to you by Aquadam.net. You can give them a call at 707-764-2119. A flooded home is never easy to deal with. You're left with the mess to clean up, the insurance companies to deal with, and not to mention all the memories, the precious memories that are lost in the flood. You can never replace those. And Aquadam can be a tool in your arsenal to protect your home and property from the floodwaters. The cofferdam is filled with water to control water and is reusable as long as it's taken care of. It can protect your home or business from rising floodwaters like a dam, but without the beavers. It can also be used in construction. If you need an area to be dewatered, an Aquadam can do the job. An Aquadam was used at SeaWorld in Orlando for the Mako roller coaster ride during the coaster's construction by dewatering the work area. An Aquadam is now dewatering the work area at San Antonio SeaWorld for their newest roller coaster ride. An Aquadam has been used in many construction projects all around the U.S. and all around the world. Now give Aquadam a call, 707-764-2119. You can look them up online at aquadam.net. You can find them on Facebook at Aquadam Inc. You call them up, you email them, you tell them Ed Opperman sent you, and they're going to take 10% off the price. Aquadam.net, 707-764-2119. PureSoapFlakes.com, 218-568-2525. Have you ever heard of Castile Soap? Pure Soap Flake Company handcrafts fine soap bars, laundry powder, and concentrated soap flakes using organic vegetable oils from their northern Minnesota facility. Bathe your body and wash your clothes with Pure Soap products that are free of fragrance, GMOs, palm oil, sodium lauryl sulfate, and synthetic additives. Keep it clean, folks. Pure Soap Flake Company products are kind to living creatures and sensitive skin, safe for drains and waterways, and work great in high-efficiency washers and top and front-loading machines. They have a little promotion going on. Contact them to order some soap. Mention the Opperman Report. You're going to get a free gift. They're going to send a little extra soap, travel size, soap bars and laundry soap, cleaning soap flakes. I've been using that stuff all day long today. Great stuff. Order today at puresoapflakes.com or give them a call, 218-568-2525, 218-568-2525. Pure Soap Flake Company is a proud member of the Handcrafted Soap and Cosmetic Guild. If you find yourself in need of legal representation, it can be a very stressful time in your life. In my career, I have dealt with thousands of lawyers, I've dealt with thousands of law firms, and I can confidently recommend to you Keith M. Davidson at kmdlaw.com. Available 24 hours, 7 days a week. Just log into kmdlaw.com. That's kmdlaw.com. Or you can call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. That's 833-4KMD-LAW. Personal injury, wrongful death, STDs, sexual assault, car accidents, they handle it all efficiently and professionally. It doesn't matter how imposing the opposition may be, because the team at kmdlaw.com are battle-tested and fierce. They will not stop until justice prevails. Go to kmdlaw.com or call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. If you're in for the fight of your life, stop screwing around and contact KMD Law.
It's the Opperman Report. Join digital forensic investigator and PI Ed Opperman for an in-depth discussion of conspiracy theories, strategy of New World Order resistance, high-profile court cases in the news, and interviews with expert guests and authors on these topics and more. It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, welcome to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, private investigator Ed Opperman. You can always find me at Opperman Investigations and Digital Forensic Consulting through my website, emailrevealer.com, or you can email me at oppermaninvestigations@gmail.com. Check out our members section at our website, oppermanreport.com, and that's where we have exclusive shows, exclusive content, specifically just for members. You can't find them anywhere on AM, FM radio, or on the internet anywhere else, not on YouTube or anywhere. But also, too, we have our archives of these nightly radio shows are free, and you can find them at Spreaker.com. And as a matter of fact, our guest we're having on today, I guess this is probably his fourth time back, CIA.Gane-McCalla. We've had him on talking about his book, Inside the Secret War in Jamaica. We had him on talking about the Boston bombing, believe it or not, because he actually knew he was involved, not mixed up, but he knew the crowd that are around those Tsaris brothers there, So he had some exclusive inside information on that. Today we're going to be talking about some research he's doing on Susan Rice. And you can read about it on a website called Countere, Countere. Casey Gane, are you there?
What's up, Ed? How are you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Did I leave anything out of your introduction or what?
Inside the CIA's secret war in Jamaica, my friend Eric Wiseman was actually involved in a Waltham triple murder in the city of Waltham, where he was murdered that was kind of connected to the Boston bombing case. They alleged that one of the Steiner brothers was involved with it. Yeah, and I'm really interested. I just did a lot of research on Susan Rice. I started before Kamala Harris was given the VP nomination, and it's really I really understand why she isn't the VP nomination, not just Benghazi and the stuff before that, but she is a serious deep state CIA asset going back to the 90s. She's been accused of poisoning a Nigerian politician. She's been accused of coddling a lot of dictators in Central Africa. Of course, she was one of the leading voices in pushing for the war in Libya. She famously claimed that Gaddafi was given Viagra to his soldiers so that they would rape civilians. This was kind of proven false. And so she's a very interesting character. So when she was nominated for VP, or she was considered to be in consideration for VP, I thought it was really funny, given her history. And most of what I knew about her was that she was involved in Libya, pushed for the war there, was kind of lying for that. And I wasn't really aware of her deep history in Africa going back to the 90s. And it seems like wherever she goes, she leaves a trail of political assassinations, coups, civil wars, and genocide. And from what I've learned from, doing all the research and writing my book, Inside the CIA's Secret War in Jamaica, I've noticed a lot of patterns among people in, government and the CIA and NGOs, which stands for non-governmental organizations, and how they work to kind of destabilize countries and bring forth regime change. And it seems like Susan Rice is a definite CIA agent or asset to people working in the CIA who have been, after the Cold War, kind of fighting a mostly for-profit, for mineral-driven war in Central Africa, which has been raging on for the past 30 years, causing countless deaths, numerous political assassinations, civil wars, and numerous of what the UN and Amnesty International have called genocide. So I'm going to back up. So Susan Rice got the Rhodes Scholarship. So those unfamiliar with the Rhodes Scholarship, it's a big scholarship to Oxford University given to the smartest people around the world from former English colonies. Now, Cecil Rhodes was also a big-time colonialist. He had a country called Rhodesia, which was right in the middle of South Africa. It eventually becomes Zimbabwe, but he was a big-time U.S. not U.S. imperialist, kind of Western imperialist and racist and white supremacist. And it's kind of ironic that Susan Rice got this scholarship because she kind of continued, despite the fact she's black, she continued Cecil Rhodes' kind of colonialist policies and kind of bring in neo-colonialist policies, where instead of England being the big colonial power, you had America being the big neo-colonial power. And instead of using consular generals, they kind of set up their network of dictators who were able to carry out their agenda in Central Africa and allow America to kind of take control of Central Africa's natural resources, which are very important. You have not only diamonds, we've all heard of blood diamonds, of course, people know gold, but a big natural resource that we have in Central Africa in the Congo is cobalt, which powers all our cell phones and does numerous other things. It's very important to Apple, very important to Samsung, very important to anyone who's making cell phones, which is a big booming industry. So after Rice
Let me stop you for a second. That Rhodes Scholarship. Can you tell us some other famous people that got that Rhodes Scholarship?
Bill Clinton, of course, had the Rhodes Scholarship. Yeah. Rachel Maddow had the Rhodes Scholarship. And it's a lot of people kind of connected to intelligence. Like once you get the Rhodes Scholarship, because Cecil Rhodes was also deep into British intelligence, MI6, the kind of predecessor to the CIA. So you got Bill Clinton, Rachel Maddow, a few other people that I can't think of right now. But
Casey, a lot of people listening to this will say, what are you talking about? Bill Clinton intelligence. Bill Clinton was never involved in intelligence. What are you talking about?
Bill Clinton was involved in, and actually it was kind of pretext of the Rhodes Scholarship that gave him the ability to work covertly throughout Europe. And numerous people have said that Bill Clinton was actually using the Rhodes Scholarship to spy on anti-Vietnam protesters and kind of infiltrate them. So apparently he was recruited by a gentleman by the name of trying to think of his name. What was his name? The gentleman, his wife was having an affair with John F. Kennedy. Who's that gentleman? And his wife was subsequently murdered?
I cannot remember.
Okay, well, that was the person who recruited Bill Clinton to the CIA while he was still an Oxford student. Rachel Maddow seems to be some sort of asset to intelligence, asset to the warmongers, especially on the Democratic side. So after Rice graduated from Oxford, she got a job at McKinsey & Company. And those who were familiar with Pete Buttigieg, they know that McKinsey & Company is a private intelligence firm that deals directly with countries like China and Saudi Arabia, and also the makers of OxyContin. So they're a corporate intelligence firm. They do a lot of strategy. They advise foreign governments. So that was her first job. Not clear exactly what she did there. After that, she got a job at the National Security Council, the NSC. Everyone familiar with the Iran-Contra affairs knows that the NSC was a big part of the Iran-Contra affair, especially Oliver North, who used his position at the NSC to be a kind of point person to arm rebels in Nicaragua and facilitate deals with Iran. So Susan Rice would kind of come on to be a Oliver North type figure in her dealings with supporting rebels, supporting dictators to kind of carry out American foreign policy. After she left McKinsey, she would, I already said that. Sorry.
Okay.
So at the NSC, she would work in Africa. Her title would be a very interesting one, in fact, because she was the Director for International Organizations and Peacekeeping, which is a very ironic title because everywhere she would go, she would just kind of bring war and conflicts. There was no peace she was kind of bringing to Africa. So besides Madeleine Albright was friends with her mother. Madeleine Albright was her kind of, not her godmother. Some people call her a godmother, but she's really just a family friend. Madeleine Wright brought Susan Rice into the State Department. When she got to the State Department, she got another mentor. This guy went by the name of Roger Winter. Now, Roger Winter is a very shady character and has been involved in Africa since the early 1980s in Uganda, working with a gentleman by the name of Yoweri Museveni, who eventually defeated the elected government of Uganda and became its dictator in the mid-'80s. And he's still the dictator there 30, 40 years on today. So Roger Winter was the head of something they called the Council. And the Council was a group of what Reuters calls foreign policy wonks. But really, it seems like a group of like intelligent assets and think tank people trying to have a war in Sudan. These people had a big vendetta against Sudan, and they thought they could actually overthrow the government. And initially, they would support a gentleman by the name of John Garang, who was the head of the Sudan People's Liberation Movement. Now, the gentleman Roger Winter was known as the spear carrier of this group. And they would have meetings, and they would discuss how do we overthrow Sudan. And one of the ways they would start would be supporting the kind of opposition movement there. And early on, Susan Rice started working with this group, talking with this group, strategizing on how to overthrow Sudan, how to support the rebel SPLM and its leader, John Garang. Now, her and Winter would meet again in Rwanda. Now, there's a lot of stuff about Rwanda that is kind of misinformation or disinformation. I don't want to go into all of it right now. I highly recommend that people listen to Pierce Redmond's interview with Keith Harmon Snow on Rwanda, and he gives a little backdrop of what actually happened versus the kind of American narrative, which has been fueled by movies like Hotel Rwanda and American propagandists who kind of work for the CIA. Now, the American narrative that is pushed is that you had these evil, angry Hutus who just spontaneously went on a massacre, and they started killing all these Tutsis in what amounted to be a genocide. 800,000 people killed over 100 days. And the narrative is that this heroic leader, Paul Kagame, who's been very closely tied to Roger Winter and Susan Rice, he came and he saved Rwanda from this genocide, and then he went on to become president. Now, there's been a lot of studies that have really looked at what happened from the root of the Rwandan genocide, how it really happened. Now, the start of the Rwandan genocide isn't really covered by the American media, but there was a big-time political assassination that happened, and there was a plane carrying the president of Rwanda and the president of Burundi. Now, Burundi is a neighboring country to Africa. This plane was shot down with a missile launcher, and it's kind of always been a mystery of who shot down this plane. Now, this was really the cause. This was the Franz Ferdinand assassination that led to wasn't a genocide in Rwanda. It was a civil war. It was two groups. It was the Rwandan Patriotic Front, led by Paul Kagame, who was a kind of an ally to Roger Winter, and he would also later become an asset and an ally to Susan Rice, versus the Rwandan government. Now, the Rwandan government wasn't really a government because the president was assassinated. Now, when people have investigated who assassinated the president that led to the genocide, they've came to the conclusion that it was Paul Kagame and Roger Winter and the CIA. So the CIA, Roger Winter, the RPF, Paul Kagame, shot down this plane that led to the Civil War conflict that kind of led to the mass killings. Now, there's lots of different perspectives on who was exactly killed in the Rwandan genocide. Now, there are people who said that it was all Tutsi, the group of Paul Kagame, that they were the major victim of the genocide, and that's been the narrative. But further investigations show that Paul Kagame was also responsible for numerous deaths of civilians, torture, etc. So it's been a kind of misperspective. But if you look at what really started the Rwandan genocide, it was the acts of Roger Winter and Paul Kagame, with the help of the CIA, shooting down the plane that killed the president of Rwanda and a number of his staff, and as well as the president of Burundi. So here's where Susan Rice kind of comes in. Susan Rice has always been connected to Rwanda, and her narrative has been that she didn't intervene. She allowed this genocide to happen. When the reality was, Susan Rice was pushing for the U.S. to get the UN out of Rwanda so Paul Kagame and her good friend Roger Winter could go on and take over the country, which is what they did. Now, they say in history, he who wins the wars writes the story. So Paul Kagame was able to establish this narrative of these evil Hutus committed genocide on my people. I defeated them. I saved the country. And now I'm president. And this was a narrative supported by America, who were backing Paul Kagame. Now, Paul Kagame wasn't a Rwandan. He left Rwanda at a very early age, and he moved to Uganda, where he was trained partially by America, partially by Yoweri Museveni, who he worked as his director of military intelligence. Now, Yoweri Museveni is another dictator in Uganda who received great assistance from the American military as well as American intelligence. So Susan Rice, it's clear, a lot of emails have shown recently that not only did she not have the U.S. intervene, but she made sure that France and the UN didn't intervene anyways, while her friend Roger Winter and her, it's not clear when she met Paul Kagame, but she's been connected to this guy for her whole life, and we'll get into that. But it's not clear if she knew what was going on with Paul Kagame and Roger Winter and the CIA kind of shooting down this plane, causing this civil war, which eventually wound up in regime change, a coup, and a new government that's favorable to the United States. The other government...
Wait, Casey, you mentioned something about emails. There's been some emails leaked. Is that what happened?
A lot of emails have been leaked in terms of Susan Rice, not only through the WikiLeaks, but through other ones back. And I'll have them when it comes on Counter.com. I'll do link to all the emails which show that Susan Rice was given warning that there was an incoming genocide happening in Rwanda due to the political assassination, and that if the UN left, that upwards of 25,000 people could be killed. Instead of asking for intervention, she did the opposite. She pushed for the UN to leave, not only the American forces, but the French forces as well. And the French forces, and here's where the conflict is. Now, what we're doing in Africa is kind of the CIA's kind of first post-Cold War war. And this war isn't necessarily based on political ideology. It's more based on power. Now, the government of Rwanda wasn't a communist government per se, but they were favorable to the French. And the French had been the former neo-colonial power of Africa because they did the colonizing of Africa. But as America got kind of bigger and stronger, America wanted to have their foot in Africa. So the takeover of Rwanda wasn't in your traditional CIA wars to kind of get rid of the Russians. It was actually more of a monetary war for America just to have power. And the bigger war was the war on Sudan, which had the oil, and the war in the Congo, which has all these minerals. So by taking over Rwanda, and they already have Uganda. So Central Africa, you have several countries. You have Sudan from the north. Below that, you have Uganda. Then you have Rwanda kind of to the west. So Central Africa is very important. Sudan is very important because of the oil. And the Congo is very important for the minerals. So by supporting Paul Kagame, the U.S. had a very powerful force, a dictator they could control, who could lead missions to kind of take over the Congo and also fight with the big war, which was Roger Winter's big war, was his war in the Sudan. So you're having wars in Uganda, wars in the Congo, and wars in Rwanda, but all of these are part of the bigger war on the Sudan.
All right, now, Casey, are these strategies that Susan Rice is coming up with on her own, or she's just carrying out orders?
It's a bit of both. So her supervisor was a gentleman by the name of Anthony Lake. Anthony Lake would be nominated to be head of the CIA to follow John Deutsch by Clinton. And during the nomination process, it came out that this gentleman, Anthony Lake, was illegally arming Bosnian rebels with Iranian weapons during the Bosnian war conflict. So her boss had a history of kind of illegally arming rebels for regime change. And this is kind of what we also see in Rwanda, where you're having these rebels supported by the U.S., whether it be weapons, logistics, intelligence, propaganda, to kind of bring forth a regime change in Rwanda. So her boss already had a history of illegally arming rebels. So I'm pretty clear she's not going rogue, but in terms of who exactly she's working for, it's not clear, because a lot of people will say, like, you know, when they see U.S. intelligence, they'll just say the CIA, when there's 17 intelligence agencies and they operate in different space. They operate in the State Department. They operate in non-governmental organizations like USAID. And Roger Winter, who I talked about, would later go on to be deputy director at USAID. So it's a kind of complex web of kind of people involved in foreign countries, and they all work together for a common goal. So it's not clear exactly who Susan Rice is taking orders from, but she is directly carrying out the policies of Bill Clinton and later Obama. She's not a rogue agent at all, but she's also seems to be carrying out the agenda of the CIA, which is to destabilize foreign countries, install dictators who allow American companies to kind of exploit their natural wealth, and support rebels to take over regimes that we don't like. So in turn, we can have our own dictators who can also take over their natural resources.
And you mentioned too, Obama's another one that comes out of CIA, right?
Yeah, his mother was a big-time USAID person. And again, like I said before, USAID is often used as a kind of Trojan horse by the American government. They say they're offering aid, and they bring in the USAID, and then when they take this aid, all these soldiers come out of the Trojan horse and they destabilize the country. And his mother was in Indonesia, where her husband was some type of U.S. ally, oil ally. She also worked for the Ford Foundation, which was a CIA front. And Obama's first job out of Colombia was at the Business International Corporation, which is listed as a CIA front by Carl Bernstein of Woodward and Bernstein. And it's interesting, though. I went to Colombia. I graduated there in 1998. And I had a great time there. I made a lot of friends, And when Obama first ran, I was very excited. I could not find a picture of him at Columbia. And when you look at what he was doing at Columbia, it's kind of hard. You can't find his transcript. And he has this weird summer where he went to Pakistan with these kind of Pakistani friends who also transferred from Occidental to Columbia with him. So he's making these weird summer trips to Pakistan. We don't know exactly what he was studying at Columbia. His first job outside of Columbia was at a CIA front company. And of course, his mother had a long history of doing CIA-like activities, which could be working at NGOs, which could be CIA front companies, marrying CIA assets. So,
Casey, another group that people overlook is the World Wildlife Fund. I did a whole show on this, and people, you think, oh, what are they? They're saving animals. They have their own paramilitary organizations. They have paramilitary troops.
We're going to get into this later. We'll kind of see it. We get a little deeper into this kind of nexus between charities, which kind of serve as fake fronts for American military support, which is very common. I remember Ghislaine Maxwell had a charity where she would save the oceans. Right. So I don't think anyone really thinks Ghislaine Maxwell really wants to save oceans and she really wants to help humanity. But these charities are often used as fronts so that American, British, Israeli intelligence assets can go into these foreign countries and meddle and bring forth regime change, or either support the dictators that they like or get rid of the government or dictators that they don't like.
And people should know Ghislaine Maxwell, too. Her father was Robert Maxwell, who was Mossad.
Ghislaine Maxwell is going to come into it as well later on, as we kind of see this kind of nexus of CIA agents, State Department agents, and people in NGOs or fake charities kind of working together for a common goal. So Susan Rice continues with her support for Paul Kagame. So after we have the quote-unquote genocide, Paul Kagame would use this kind of genocide as his personal 9/11 or Alamo to just continue to go to war in Africa. So he would go to war in Congo, and he would say, hey, the people who are living... So he not only did... he took over the country, but he chased out a lot of the Hutus because they were getting killed. So a lot of them went to the Congo, a neighboring country. So he would lead these kind of brutal attacks to these refugee camps in the Congo under the guise of stopping the genocide, right? So we say, but in truth, he's really creating another genocide. And there was an email or a personal conversation that was reported that Susan Rice said, hey, all we have to do is let Museveni, the Ugandan dictator, and Paul Kagame, who is now the Rwandan kind of strongman, all we have to do is look the other way and let them take care of the genocidaires, which was the term that they would use for the Hutus. So they would blame them for the mass, when in fact the people committing the genocide were the Rwandan Tutsis and Paul Kagame and his Ugandan allies with the help of American and Israeli and British intelligence. So Susan Rice, after her pal Roger Winter, now Roger Winter would admit, he would say that he would be on the front lines fighting with Paul Kagame like a typical CIA agent, really not only providing propaganda, being the liaison with intelligence, bringing in humanitarian aid and the support of the government. So this guy was leading the RPF along with Paul Kagame in their war in Rwanda that many have considered a genocide. So Susan Rice covered for him then. And then again, she's covering for him in this war in the Congo. Now, this war in the Congo escalated to a point where it also became known as a genocide by Amnesty International and other people. And war crimes were committed by Paul Kagame and his Ugandan allies. This war escalated. This is against Mobutu. Now, Mobutu was a CIA asset for a long time, but he broke wind with the CIA, like Noriega and other governments, and Idi Amin and these other people. So once you break wind, they knock you out and support another dictator. So there was another big war with Rwanda and Uganda warring in the Congo, and eventually they knock out the Mobutu and they install their own person by the name of Laurent Kabila. Now, Laurent Kabila wouldn't play games with them either, so they had him assassinated, and they installed another government. And these wars keep on going and going, and it's a great way to have your proxy Rwandan forces take over all the cobalt and all the minerals, and you have a chaotic war and these invading forces, and you're still getting these minerals being raped by these kind of American-supported proxy forces. So we've had, after the quote-unquote genocide in Rwanda, we had another quote documented genocide of Congolese people, of a lot of people from the Hutu group. Now, again, the Hutus and the Tutsis, I really would ask people to listen to the interview between Pierce Redmond and Keith Harmon Snow to get a kind of better view on the conflict of Rwanda.
Yeah, and you know what I'll do? I'll even take a copy of that interview and I'll put it up on my Spreaker channel. You can find it at the Opperman Report. I think Pierce has his own channel on my Spreaker channel. So we'll make sure that goes up there. But we've got to take a little commercial break. And we're getting great information here from CIA.Gane-McCalla. And if you listen to this, maybe you should go to Contere, COUNTERE.com and follow along as he's giving us narration here. Great book, Inside the Secret War in Jamaica. And we'll be right back with more of CIA.Gane-McCalla telling us all about the dark side of Susan Rice right after these messages. And now a word from our sponsors.
Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? Maybe the facility you manage could establish new revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services. Cart King International can be the answer to your needs. Cart King is a North American designer and manufacturer of the finest mobile coffee, food, and retail carts and kiosks. Cart King has been working with clients and corporations across North America for 20 years, providing innovative designs, custom manufacturing, and timely delivery. Carts and kiosks are fun, and so are the dozens of designs on our website. Please visit us today at www.cart-king.com or just call us at 1-877-986-7771 and get your sales rolling.
Thank you so much for listening to the Opperman Report. I want to welcome all our new listeners at WWPR 1490 AM in the Tampa Bay area. We're brand new down here. We're getting a nice warm welcome. We have great advertising opportunities for local sponsors, local businesses, but also international websites and international companies too on our other stations in California, Nevada, Utah, and on the internet worldwide. But down here in Tampa Bay, Florida, we have some great opportunities for you to come in and get very, very affordable advertising rates. Get a hold of me at oppermanreport@gmail.com and we'll cut you a good deal. PureSoapFlakes.com, 218-568-2525. Have you ever heard of Castile Soap? Pure Soap Flake Company handcrafts fine soap bars, laundry powder, and concentrated soap flakes using organic vegetable oils from their northern Minnesota facility. Bathe your body and wash your clothes with Pure Soap products that are free of fragrance, GMOs, palm oil, sodium lauryl sulfate, and synthetic additives. Keep it clean, folks. Pure Soap Flake Company products are kind to living creatures and sensitive skin, safe for drains and waterways, and work great in high-efficiency washers and top and front-loading machines. They have a little promotion going on. Contact them to order some soap. Mention the Opperman Report. You're going to get a free gift. They're going to send a little extra soap, travel size, soap bars and laundry soap, cleaning soap flakes. I've been using that stuff all day long today. Great stuff. Order today at puresoapflakes.com or give them a call, 218-568-2525, 218-568-2525. Pure Soap Flake Company is a proud member of the Handcrafted Soap and Cosmetic Guild. The Opperman Report is brought to you by Aquadam.net. You can give them a call at 707-764-2119. A flooded home is never easy to deal with. You're left with the mess to clean up, the insurance companies to deal with, and not to mention all the memories, the precious memories that are lost in the flood. You can never replace those. And Aquadam can be a tool in your arsenal to protect your home and property from the floodwaters. The cofferdam is filled with water to control water and is reusable as long as it's taken care of. It can protect your home or business from rising floodwaters like a dam, but without the beavers. It can also be used in construction. If you need an area to be dewatered, an Aquadam can do the job. An Aquadam was used at SeaWorld in Orlando for the Mako roller coaster ride during the coaster's construction by dewatering the work area. An Aquadam is now dewatering the work area at San Antonio SeaWorld for their newest roller coaster ride. An Aquadam has been used in many construction projects all around the U.S. and all around the world. Now give Aquadam a call, 707-764-2119. You can look them up online at aquadam.net. You can find them on Facebook at Aquadam Inc. You call them up, you email them, you tell them Ed Opperman sent you, and they're going to take 10% off the price. Aquadam.net, 707-764-2119.
It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, welcome back to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, private investigator Ed Opperman. We're getting some really good knowledge out of CIA.Gane-McCalla. You got to check out his book, Inside the Secret War in Jamaica, and check out our previous shows. Go to the Spreaker channel, check that out, but also to mvgen.com. The guy also does, he's a rap promoter, a rap producer, and has a music video generator at mvgen.com. You got to check that out. Casey, continue.
All right, so in 1998, there was a publication called the Executive Intelligence Review. They wrote an article that said, rice caught in Iran-Contra style capers in Africa. Now, the Rice is Susan Rice, and it would refer to her and Roger Winter using the State Department to illegally and covertly arm rebels in the Congo. So these rebels in the Congo were also being supported by Uganda and Rwanda. This is, again, a big genocide happening there. So she's helping illegally support rebels in a genocidal war. And also, again, the big war was in the Sudan. So she's also having illegal, kind of like Iran-Contra, where you had Oliver North and company illegally arming the Contras. She's doing the same thing, but she's illegally arming rebels in the Sudan and, as I said before, the Congo. And again, the Sudan is a big part of Roger Winter's war. And he's the CIA agent. His title is, director of the Committee of Refugees, but he doesn't anything to help refugees. All he does is create wars that create refugees. But his kind of fake front allows him to go into these African countries that are going through conflict and work with these rebel leaders and kind of. So he's been like on the front line in Sudan, like literally fighting, not just giving these guys logistics and money. He literally fights with these guys. So it was Roger Winter and another gentleman by the name of Mike Harari. Those who are familiar with Iran-Contra should be familiar with Mike Harari. He was a Mossad agent, made famous in the movie Munich, the Spielberg movie, where the Mossad agents go out and kill all the Arab people who killed the people in the Olympic kind of hostage bombing, But he killed a few people who had nothing to do with it. So he got kicked out of Europe and the Middle East for that, and they sent him to Central America. And in Central America, it finds out he's working very closely with Manuel Noriega. And if you read books by Chip Tatum or Terry Reid, they'll say that Mike Harari was very deeply involved in not only the arms trade, but the drug trade in Central America. So Noriega gets kicked out. Mike Harari runs to Africa, where he helps arm these rebels with Susan Rice and Roger Winter. So she's illegal arming these rebels. This is a big part of the war in Sudan. Now, also in 1998, Susan Rice and a gentleman by the name of Thomas Pickering. Now, Thomas Pickering is another one of these deep State Department officials, ambassadors. They have different titles, but they do the same thing. He was also caught up in Iran-Contra with Oliver North as ambassador to El Salvador, which is a big part of the kind of covert war in Nicaragua, and also a big part of where you had a lot of civil war and genocide that was also supported by the U.S. government. So she and Thomas Pickering go to Nigeria to meet this guy, Thomas M.K. Abiola. Now, Thomas M.K. Abiola was elected president in 93, but the military dictatorship locked him up. So there's a conflict going on. She goes, meets with this guy, with Thomas Pickering, the CIA type guy. She gives him some tea, and he dies. He just dies. Now, a lot of people say she poisoned him to death. It's not clear. There hasn't been any real concrete investigations to it, but those familiar with the CIA will know that they admitted to trying to poison Patrice Lumumba, who was the democratically elected leader of the Congo, who was also eventually followed by Mobutu after a CIA-sponsored coup. And those familiar with kind of the CIA's war on Cuba will know that they used Marita Lorenz, a woman, to try and poison Fidel Castro, but didn't work. So given what I know about the CIA, I don't think it's too ludicrous that these people are accusing Susan Rice of poisoning a democratically elected leader of a country. And now, after he was poisoned, the military leader who the U.S. didn't like was also poisoned. And you had a longtime CIA asset become president of Nigeria after these two deaths. So at the end of the Clinton administration, Susan Rice goes into the private sector, and she works at a company called IntelliBridge. At IntelliBridge, one of her first big clients is Paul Kagame, the dictator and war criminal who she's kind of supported with Roger Winter, her good friend, in letting him come to power and letting him go to war in the Congo. So this is now her client. It's not clear exactly what she did for him, but she's helping him out, and he's paying her a lot of money. At IntelliBridge, she's working with a woman by the name of Gail Smith. Now, Gail Smith went on to become a Clinton ally and aid on Africa and worked with Obama as well. But her history kind of in the 80s is very murkily unclear. But there is a gentleman by the name of Thomas Mountain who said that in the 80s, she was a CIA agent using the cover of a journalist to kind of infiltrate Ethiopia and Eritrea. And she got the name Guerrilla Mistress because she was having an affair with one of these guerrilla leaders, and she used her relationship with this guerrilla leader to advise the other guerrilla leader, who went on to become president of Ethiopia, and then she would become the CIA's liaison to Ethiopia. She would work with Susan Rice first at USAID, and they were also caught up in Rwanda. And then she would go on to join Bill Clinton at the State Department. Now, she was one of the people on Bill Clinton's plane with Kevin Spacey and Chris Tucker when they were in Africa. Now, it's very interesting. Gail Smith is an interesting person when we talk about charities, because after leaving USAID, the CIA, and the State Department, she's run a number of charities, but the goal of her charities is not to help out the people of Africa, it's to bring war to the people of Africa. So we've seen this in the Sudan, where they say there's a big genocide, and we need to help, but really what they want to do is have a war with Sudan and kind of take over the oil. So she's a kind of nexus like Ghislaine Maxwell in terms of the charity intelligence nexus of where they meet. So Susan Rice is also at this after she leaves Intelligence with Gail Smith, she goes on to the Brookings Institute. Brookings Institute is like a liberal think tank. They call it liberal, but it's really a pro-war think tank, more democratic. And so there, all she would really do is write articles on why the U.S. should go to war with Sudan, and also meet with delegates from Rwanda, other places. So she joins Obama administration after being a foreign policy consultant in 2009, and she goes right back to doing the same thing she did in protecting Paul Kagame and Yoweri Museveni. Now, the war in the Congo is still going on. There was a UN report that Paul Kagame and Yoweri Museveni were illegally funding these M23 rebels who were raping, using child soldiers, torturing, killing civilians. There's a big UN report that Uganda and Yoweri Museveni, who Susan Rice is close to as well, and Paul Kagame were both supporting these M23 rebels in the Congo who were, again, committing genocide. So that was her first big thing, was covering up. And now her next big thing was Libya. She was a big proponent for the war in Libya. She said that Gaddafi's soldiers were given Viagra by Gaddafi. They were given Viagra by Gaddafi so they could go off and rape all these women and torture. So she painted a very negative picture to kind of justify this war, even though Amnesty International and a number of organizations had revealed that Gaddafi was not giving Viagra to soldiers. It was the American-supported rebels who were doing the raping. And now there were another set of emails were released because the ambassador to the UAE, he had his email hacked, and he was emailing Susan Rice, telling her about how he was arming the Libyan rebels. And this is when there was an arms embargo on Libya. And she's saying Roger. So it's kind of clear that she was complicit in illegally arming the Libyan rebels. And so the big Libya thing, a lot of people and another big voice for the war in Libya was Gail Smith. Another person who was influential for the war in Libya was the gentleman who was Ghislaine Maxwell's nephew, who went by the name of Alexander de Gerasi. Now, he was a big part in kind of the Arab Spring, starting Tunisia, a big part in the war in Libya, along with Susan Rice, and the war in Syria. So you kind of have an interconnected diaspora. So it kind of comes back to Epstein, who was intelligence, Gail Smith is intelligence. You kind of ask yourself, if Gail Smith isn't really a charity person, right? If she's using charity as a kind of front for the CIA, what was Epstein's trip to Africa really about? Do you really believe that Epstein and Bill Clinton, they really want to help Africa? We're going to fly to Africa and we're going to help these Africans, despite Bill Clinton's horrible policy against Africans. And Epstein doesn't even want to have sex with a black girl, no matter how pretty she is. Do you really think that?
Yeah, but the thing is, the Clinton Foundation did have that AIDS cure or whatever. It was a that's another front they've been also using is AIDS. Oh, and so this is another thing that
a lot of people say Jeffrey Epstein claimed he started the Clinton Foundation. That's not true. What Jeffrey Epstein said is he started the Clinton Global Initiative, which is a separate part of the Clinton Foundation that Gail Smith was also a big part of.
Wait, you want to know something else? I just found out yesterday because I'm working on this. He said that the date he said that was before the Global Initiative had been created.
Right. Yeah. So another big part of the Clinton Global Initiative was Gail Smith. And now the whole Clinton Global Initiative is really about bringing all these celebrity voices to help them kind of propagandize their wars under the guise of humanitarian aid. So George Clooney was a big voice in terms of getting the UN war in the Sudan. So eventually happened, Roger Winter, his big war was the Sudan. He wanted it. He supported this gentleman, John Garang, right? That was his big guy. John Garang finally negotiated peace in 2005. That will eventually lead to the creation of South Sudan. John Garang is assassinated 2 days after he kind of signs this peace deal. And some people say it was Museveni who killed him, the dictator who was supported by Kagame and Roger Winter and Susan Rice. So there's been a number of these kind of mystery assassinations that have gone on in Africa where heads of state have been killed, starting with the presidents of Rwanda and Burundi, going on to the president of the Congo, Laurent Kabila, and then you have John Garang, longtime friend of Roger Winter and Susan Rice. And it seems like the USA's kind of policy is all right, support a rebel group, get their dictator up. If that dictator doesn't play ball, have him assassinated, see if we can get an or start a civil war against him. Hello?
Yeah, I'm here. So where do we stand now, Casey? What do you think's going on with her future? Where's she working these days?
I think she's been more of a private citizen. She obviously not getting picked up. She might be at a think tank or something or have a regular job. I think, now I really understand. So again, her big thing is Benghazi, and her kind of excuse is that she was just reading CIA talking points. And okay, but it's clear to me that Susan Rice kind of works directly with the CIA. So if she didn't, she absolutely knew what was going on. If not, she was not directly complicit, because it seems like everywhere she goes, she gets complicit in illegally arming rebels. So a lot of people don't know the real story of Benghazi. You know, they just know the fake story, and they just know the fake story isn't true. But the real story is that you had these U.S.-supported rebels in Libya with a gentleman by the name of Christopher Stevens working with them, and he's supporting these Libyan rebels. Now, at the same time, you have a stash of Gaddafi's old weapons in Benghazi, and the Americans are using these weapons to send to Syria, or the CIA send these weapons to Syria so they can fight the Syrian war, again, illegally arming rebels. The Libyan rebels get wind of this. They want these weapons for themselves. They raid the Benghazi complex, kill Christopher Stevens, who's the liaison to these kind of extremist rebels, and 3 other CIA agents. So Benghazi was really about another incident of the CIA illegally arming rebels, just like Iran-Contra, just like we kind of seen in Rwanda, just like we've kind of seen in Bosnia. And we kind of get this picture. So these women, Samantha Power, Gail Smith, and Hillary Clinton and Susan Rice, are kind of credited for pushing Obama to the war in Libya. And all of these women definitely also have their own kind of like deep state ties, you know, Hillary Clinton, Susan Rice, Gail Smith, and Samantha Power. Now, Samantha Power was supposedly working as a journalist in Bosnia, and she kind of helps the American narrative that you had these evil Serbs killing these righteous Muslims who were also being armed by the Americans, and also went on to become Al-Qaeda, really. So a lot of people really think the war on terror starts, in 2000. Really, the war on terror started in Africa in the 90s against Sudan. So again, also what we have where Susan Rice was involved was the U.S. embassy bombing. Now, during the U.S. embassy bombing, the government of Sudan didn't want bin Laden there. That was a big myth that Sudan was kind of sponsoring terrorism. The government of Sudan offered Susan Rice, Madeleine Albright. They said, hey, we've got bin Laden. We've got these 2 people who we think are involved in the Kenyan embassy bombing. And Susan Rice said, no, we don't want this. keep it to yourself. Now, there's two views that you could take on this. That she was so hawkish against Sudan that she wouldn't deal with them, or if you want to take a more conspiratorial view, that she was actively protecting bin Laden.
Wait, who was protecting bin Laden?
Susan Rice.
Fascinating.
Yeah. So it's really interesting. I think Roger Winter is kind of the real villain of the story, and he seems like a big time CIA agent. Starting wars in Uganda, Rwanda, Sudan, and all right. So Sudan eventually, due to this long supported war of Susan Rice, Roger Winter, and their whole big clique, eventually you did have independence for the South Sudan, and that just started a whole another civil war. So everywhere these guys go, they start assassinations, civil wars, genocide, and I believe it's a kind of myth that we see these people as humanitarian people gone wrong. Like, oh, they had good intentions. We wanted to help out the people of Libya. It just went wrong. There's no humanitarian motivations by these people. That's just a lie that they tell the American public. Their motivations are purely about power and money and their own distorted foreign policy. And they'll lie to you and say, hey, this dictator is committing genocide. And a lot of times they might be, but they're not telling you about the 4 or 5 dictators that they're supporting that are committing genocide. They're not telling you about the rebel leader that they're fighting against, that leader who's also committing his own form of genocide and mass killings. So I think Susan Rice is definitely emblematic of how the CIA in America hasn't changed and how you can get away with, no one cares about Africa. So Susan Rice can get away with political assassinations, sudden coups, and without any major scandals, no big investigations. And it seems like the only criticism Susan Rice was getting when she was nominated as Secretary of State was Benghazi, not Rwanda, not the Congo, not her relationship with Paul Kagame, because interesting enough, Susan Rice, when she was at the Benghazi hearings, it was a big show. When you see people like Lindsey Graham and John McCain, they play on the same
You've
team
got
as Susan
mail.
Rice. They were both for the Libyan overhaul. They were both funding the Libyan and Syrian rebels. So when you see them on Congress or at the Senate at a hearing going, it's a big front. They're on the same team. Susan Rice, John McCain, Lindsey Graham, they're on the same team. When it comes to American foreign policy, there is no difference. They might have these little skirmishes to make you think we have two choices in terms of who we elected. But Hillary Clinton, John McCain, Lindsey Graham, people in the State Department still this is why Donald Trump will say the State Department, or I like to say the Deep State Department, because they're kind of infested with these old CIA agents, these old Cold War warmongers, and all of these people, and Susan Rice included. So she's just a kind of big part of this. And what I'm amazed at is she does all this dirty stuff. She's been accused of assassinating a Nigerian leader. She's been accused of being an architect to genocide, which was what Keith Harmon Snow called her and Roger Winter, architects of genocide in Rwanda. Why on earth would this woman run for public office and subject herself to the scrutiny? And the reason why is because the Republicans will never go after her CIA activities.
Yeah, just like they never mentioned Obama or Clinton being CIA, because it's against their narrative. But Casey, we only got about 2 minutes left. What do you want to leave us with?
So the article isn't up yet. We're still doing a little editing on it, but depending on when you hear it, definitely go to counter.com. And I'm thinking of the title Black Lives Don't Matter for Susan Rice, but that may change. So I'll be writing there. Definitely right now. I highly recommend everyone watch an Amazon documentary called The Last Narc. And it deals with murder of Kiki Camarena, a DEA agent. And that's been featured on the series Narcos. And it kind of shows you how Hollywood presents a false narrative. And in this chance, I was really surprised that Amazon presented the real narrative. The real narrative is that Kiki Camarena was a DEA agent who found out about the Iran-Contra drug smuggling gun army operations running out of Mexico and Guadalajara, and was subsequently tortured and killed by agents of Mexico led by Felix Rodriguez, notorious CIA agent. So everyone read that, watch The Last Narc, and then read my article to give a lot of background information. The docuseries is really good, but they really don't go into the depths of Felix Rodriguez. So yeah, check that out, mvgen.com. My book, Inside the CIA Secret War in Jamaica, as relevant now as it ever was. And look into Susan Rice and Roger Winter. And for those who want a deeper background on Rwanda, as I mentioned before, go to Porkins Policy and check out Pierce Redmond's interview with Keith Harmon Snow.
Yeah, you know what I'll do? I'll upload that right after this show goes. So if you go to Spreaker.com, you'll be able to find it over there. C.Gane-McCalla, thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you, Ed.
Good night. And now a word from our sponsors. OppermanReport.com. Hey, do you like what you're hearing? Do you like the work that you see us doing here at Opperman Report? You can support that work by becoming a member at OppermanReport.com. And as you have access to over 200 exclusive shows and interviews that you can't find on YouTube or Spreaker or iHeart or iTunes or KYAH. You can't find them anywhere else online, exclusive to our member sections, to our members. Also, too, there's images, videos, documents, court docs. And don't forget, you can hear your ad played here on the Opperman Report, reach hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people on a daily basis because the show is repeated every day all over the world. Contact me at operatreport@gmail.com and I'll give you a good deal on advertising rates.
Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? Maybe the facility you manage could establish new revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services. Cart King International can be the answer to your needs. Cart King is a North American designer and manufacturer of the finest mobile coffee, food, and retail carts and kiosks. Cart King has been working with clients and corporations across North America for 20 years, providing innovative designs, custom manufacturing, and timely delivery. Carts and kiosks are fun, and so are the dozens of designs on our website. Please visit us today at www.cart-king.com or just call us at 1-877-986-7771 and get your sales rolling.
The Opperman Report is brought to you by Aquadam.net. You can give them a call at 707-764-2119. A flooded home is never easy to deal with. You're left with the mess to clean up, the insurance companies to deal with, and not to mention all the memories, the precious memories that are lost in the flood. You can never replace those. And Aquadam can be a tool in your arsenal to protect your home and property from the floodwaters. The cofferdam is filled with water to control water and is reusable as long as it's taken care of. It can protect your home or business from rising floodwaters like a dam, but without the beavers. It can also be used in construction. If you need an area to be dewatered, an Aquadam can do the job. An Aquadam was used at SeaWorld in Orlando for the Mako roller coaster ride during the coaster's construction by dewatering the work area. An Aquadam is now dewatering the work area at San Antonio SeaWorld for their newest roller coaster ride. An Aquadam has been used in many construction projects all around the U.S. and all around the world. Now give Aquadam a call, 707-764-2119. You can look them up online at aquadam.net. You can find them on Facebook at Aquadam Inc. You call them up, you email them, you tell them Ed Opperman sent you, and they're going to take 10% off the price. Aquadam.net, 707-764-2119.
Are you ready to change your life, but don't know how to start? Is your stress and worries keeping you awake at night? Have you been battling grief, anxiety, or depression all alone? Have you lost touch with your own sense of being or spirituality? Soul Free Therapies offers professional and affordable live video streaming counseling and coaching services from the comfort of your own home. Sessions offered in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. Go to our website at www.soul-free.com and book your first session today.
If you find yourself in need of legal representation, it can be a very stressful time in your life. In my career, I have dealt with thousands of lawyers, I've dealt with thousands of law firms, and I can confidently recommend to you Keith M. Davidson at kmdlaw.com. Available 24 hours, 7 days a week. Just log into kmdlaw.com. That's kmdlaw.com. Or you can call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. That's 833-4KMD-LAW. Personal injury, wrongful death, STDs, sexual assault, car accidents. They handle it all efficiently and professionally. It doesn't matter how imposing the opposition may be, because the team at kmdlaw.com are battle-tested and fierce. They will not stop until justice prevails. Go to kmdlaw.com or call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. If you're in for the fight of your life, stop screwing around and contact KMD Law. PureSoapFlakes.com. 218-568-2525. Have you ever heard of Castile Soap? Pure Soap Flake Company handcrafts fine soap bars, laundry powder, and concentrated soap flakes using organic vegetable oils from their northern Minnesota facility. Bathe your body and wash your clothes with pure soap products that are free of fragrance, GMOs, palm oil, sodium lauryl sulfate, and synthetic additives. Keep it clean, folks. Pure Soap Flake Company products are kind to living creatures and sensitive skin, safe for drains and waterways, and work great in high-efficiency washers and top and front-loading machines. They have a little promotion going on. Contact them to order some soap. Mention the Opperman Report. You're going to get a free gift. They're going to send a little extra soap, travel size, soap bars, and laundry soap, cleaning soap flakes. I've been using that stuff all day long today. Great stuff. Order today at puresoapflakes.com or give them a call, 218-568-2525, 218-568-2525. Pure Soap Flake Company is a proud member of the Handcrafted Soap and Cosmetic Guild.